Yeah, Zoom looks completely different to me today than it did yesterday.
Yeah, like a
It's like a
vastly different.
major update
Yeah.
overnight or something.
Yeah, buttons is all weird. Anyway, hi everybody.
Hello.
Bonjour et bienvenue. Welcome to the koha-US System Administration SIG, where we talk about systems administration and SIGs and stuff. I don't know. We don't talk about. I'm just muttering. Anyway, we're here to talk about koha stuff. Chanel was expressing her anxiety about their upcoming migration, and we were saying it's gonna go great. Chanel, can we give you any more substantive help than just telling you it will go great? Oh no, it's gonna go really bad.
We
Well,
talked about changes in Zoom, and now she's completely,
that's just one more thing.
now Zoom is completely crapped out on her.
Well,
Or
assuming,
she got up to put out a fire.
yeah, assuming everything's still more or less okay over there. Aha, a picture. Oh no, your sound stopped on you. I don't know why. No.
When I
Do
had
your
a pair
head,
of headphones like that, it was because I bumped the thing that
yeah,
muted me.
that was what I was gonna ask. I
Like the
spent a long
thing on
time.
there
Yeah.
was a thing on the cord that was a mute button.
So I bet you can hear me now.
Yeah.
Yay.
because that's exactly what I did was I bumped the little mute button. I didn't know it. Okay, so my question was, is anybody using Easy Proxy with Koha?
I'm sure someone is, but I am not.
Yeah,
Right.
I know there are a couple of people that are, but none of them, I don't see any of them here right now.
We are, but I'm not sure I can give you a lot of information about it.
Well, my thing that I would want to know is what the lines are that you put in your users.txt file so that it can connect to the server. So it can connect to Koha.
I can ask the right person for that question though.
I would appreciate that like you wouldn't believe. Let me put my email address in the chat.
So you need to know what we put in the users.txt file for it to connect to Koha.
Yeah, for it to connect to Koha, because I've done this before with Symfony and it works fine. And I changed it to the information that Koha gave me with a little bit of assumptions because they didn't precisely tell me what to do, and it's not working. It's unable to connect. So there, I put my email address in the chat.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I will ask them and see if I can get an answer for you.
Okay, that would appreciate that so much.
Sure. Of course.
And then Overdrive is saying that they aren't getting the AQ field, which is for location reporting. So I'm assuming it's the library. Does anybody remember having to do anything special with Overdrive?
So you're talking about the patron's home library field?
Yeah. Yes.
I don't think that's an AQ field in Koha. Oh, and I updated my computer. I got a new computer yesterday, which is double-edged sword. Hey, I got a brand new computer. God, all of my software is on the old computer.
Yeah, my computer died last week.
I want to say that the patron's home library, you have to configure the SIP connection to send the patron's home library in an AF field, and it'll send 2 AF fields. And you need to ask Bywater Solutions, because I know you're one of their partners, to make sure that the Koha SIP connection for Overdrive sends the patron home library in the second AF field. And then you need to make sure that Overdrive knows that that's where the information is going to be.
Okay, so Jason just put something that is, I'm guessing, a system setting. What is that, Jason?
So that's the flag in the SIP connection itself. That's what you need to tell Bywater you need enabled on the SIP connection.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Perfect.
You guys are being lifesavers.
And so Jason, that goes like in the SIP config file somewhere on the Koha server? Cool.
Correct.
And just in general, I have is there anything I should know? We're going live on Monday. Is there anything that I should be considering, things, what did you learn something the hard way that weekend?
How much have you talked about your waiting holds? Those tend to get weird in migration. Like the things that are currently on the hold shelf waiting for a patron to come pick them up. I know I've seen migrations where Koha does not know at the end of the data movement that those holds are waiting. It thinks they're pending and they need to get checked back in again. So I would just make sure with your data folks that that's not something they're going to need you to do.
So
that was something
go
that
ahead,
was something
George.
that I needed to do on the day before we went live. On Saturday, we migrated the data. Sunday, I came in the afternoon and I checked in all the holds that were on the hold shelf to re-trigger the holds from Voyager, the things that were waiting to be picked up, to trigger the hold in Koha so that it would generate so that it would trigger the hold in Koha.
So Bywater has assured me we don't need to do that. I think that was a thing that was previously needed, and they have fixed that. But they have asked us to basically inventory the whole shelf just to be sure that the two match.
So I can add one thing that was kind of a gotcha. We migrated from Circe Symphony to Koha 6 months ago, and patrons ended up being double billed for some things because the bills were migrated and the checkouts were still on the patrons' accounts. So when they got to their due date in Koha or whatever triggered the bill, they were billed again for the same item.
Billed again as in they got a second bill, or they were billed twice the amount of money?
A second bill.
Oh,
a
okay.
duplicate bill. Yeah, we had to clean those up. And I'm not sure if that's just how we did our migration problem with that, but it's something to watch out for.
Okay. I mean, that doesn't worry me so much if it's still showing the right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty easy for staff to see that that's a duplicate bill.
Yeah.
And forgive one of them. So
Chip, were those things that were like marked lost in your previous system and the patron got billed the replacement price? Like long overdue lost stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We don't charge fines, so yeah.
I think I've seen that happen to other libraries too, where their old system was thinking of that item as long overdue and the patron had already been charged, but it was still sort of connected to them as a checkout. And then it arrived in Koha and Koha said, oh, I see, you have this thing checked out and really overdue. I know what to do with that. Mark it lost and bill the patron.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It does seem like lost items and fees are the other place to worry about something going weird. And I'm trying to think of other likely holes.
It's just this, we're 59 member library consortium, and they're multi-type, and there's just so many things touching.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why don't we stick that general idea in the back of our minds as we proceed. And if anyone else thinks of a migration worry or point of concern, we'll come back to it. Chip asked me a question yesterday in Slack that I thought would be good to bring to the group. How do y'all feel about early adoptering with Bywater? I know they're currently looking for early adopters, and specifically Chip was asking as somebody who's recently migrated. Bywater made it sound like maybe they would not want to be an early adopter having just migrated, which makes some sense. I don't know. Anybody have insights on the matter?
I've been an early adopter and a non-early adopter, and an unwilling early adopter, actually. When I started with Bywater, it was you know, Bywater was only a few years old. And they were, you know, we migrated in, I guess it was April of 2012. And then like in May, we upgraded to the new version of Koha immediately. Like the day it was released, Bywater upgraded all of their customers to the new version. And so everybody was an early adopter at that point. And so we got to identify all the bugs in the brand new version. This was like, you know, 3.8 or 3.10, something like that. And so Bywater actually changed their strategy after that, because being like on the software the day after it was released just proved to be too buggy. Because as much testing as goes into it, there were still some bugs that slipped through. That first time, the really bad bug was a bug, you know, we still had fines and we still had grace periods. And there was a bug that broke all the grace periods. So every day we were running reports to see who was unjustly, you know, had things that were in the grace period that they were getting billed for the late fees anyway. And that was a really messy one. And so then Bywater pushed everything back and they said, we're not going to immediately put everybody on the brand new version. We'll hold everybody off until it's been out for 6 months. And then we were early adopters a couple of times, and it was never a problem after that, because even though we were early adopters, we weren't early adopters to the brand new version of Koha. The thing that I've had here since I've been in Kansas is that our staff wants training for each new release. And so usually the way that Bywater has been doing it is that they do the training and then they start upgrading people. And so I've been in a position the last couple of years where since my staff wants training, I will do the training, and then I will train them, and then we will upgrade. And so NECLS has always been a really late adopter because that worked out for us. Now the method of training Bywater seems to have changed again, where there's, you know, training before, during, and after the upgrades. And with this new plan, I'm interested to see how this new plan works out, where they're upgrading all of their customers in the same month, you know, regardless. So I'm interested in what will happen this August. But so we've been early adopters and not early adopters, and somewhere in the middle, I think, is the best place to be. So,
Okay.
But that's been my experience. What you don't want to do is you don't want to go on the software the day after the release. That's the definite lesson I've learned.
Oh yeah.
Too buggy.
Okay. I'm feeling kind of confident about it. As long as they don't upgrade it right before my vacation. We'll see.
The thing we keep
Thanks.
repeating here is that being an early adopter means we will get really prompt ticket responses and prompt activity on like bugs we file. And that's great if we're positioned to take advantage of that. Like through the course of the year, maybe I take like a week to respond to a Bywater ticket. And if that's how I'm going to handle all my early adopter tickets, then there's no point in me being an early adopter. I'm just going to like find headaches and then not solve them for myself. But given that we're a small library and we're pretty loosey-goosey and I have the time to do that, to really like babysit a lot of tickets for a week, twice a month or twice a year, I can do that. And I think that pays off well for us.
All right.
But it could be real different for a big library. Like,
yeah, for us, the situation we get is we'll upgrade, and then everybody out there at the 50 libraries is all doing their own thing. And it'll be a week before I find out that there's a problem. And then you've got to spend Depending on the person that's reporting the problem, you either get a lot of information or you just get a phone call that says Koha's not working right. And so, you know, if you've got a lot of libraries being an early adopter, that can be a hassle where you don't just have to babysit the tickets, you have to go out there and try and be proactive to communicate with everybody to find out when there are problems. But if you're all alone and, you know, if you're at a small library by yourself, it's a lot easier to come across those things.
Okay, yeah, we're all in one building, and yeah, so that helps.
Yeah, the nearest actual library to my building that's a member is like 12 miles. So there's
Wow.
and the furthest one away is about 90. So there's a communication gap. And I know Chanel is in an even bigger geographic area than that. So.
Okay.
Well, y'all, what's keeping you up nights in Koha land? Anyone been stressing out about system preferences? Circ rules.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I guess it's a two-part question. One, is anyone using Envisionware in concert with Koha? And two, are you gating access to those reservation PCs based on a field in the patron profile?
We are using Envisionware and we have tested it and it worked fine. I didn't do it myself, so I don't really know any more than that.
Okay.
I don't think we're doing anything. I mean, we're just verifying that it's a user in good standing, and that's it.
Yeah, my use case might be a little weird. We have libraries that want to collect an internet consent form and then make some kind of mark in the patron record that they have this on file. So what I'm thinking of doing is using the sort one field with authorized values of 0 and 1, 0 being you get access and 1 being you don't get access. And I've talked with Envisionware a bit. They think that'll work, but I was just wondering if anyone had tried it. But if not, I'll report back when I test it, inevitably.
I guess the question I would have with that would be where in the SIP connection does that sort one go through? Because I'm not sure it does.
I'm not sure where, but Bywater has told me that both sorts come through the SIP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then you're probably good.
Okay, great.
I've worked at when I was in Idaho, we used Envisionware and we didn't have any issues. But the thing that we used to here in Kansas, we have a couple libraries still using Envisionware, and usually they're either all or that they most of the libraries say, you know, we don't care if the patron's card is in good standing or not. We just, you know, that we just want to, what they really want out of Envisionware is the booting the patron off when their time's up.
Right.
And they don't care if the person has fines or fees. If they do have, then I have a few libraries that do want the patron's card to be in good standing. And we use the PI field to determine if they're in good standing or not. PI is, does the patron have internet access? And so if there's anything on their account, if they have anything overdue, or if they're overdue the maximum fine threshold, or if their account's expired, virtually anything that will prevent a patron from checking things out will trigger that PI field to an N, because it's either a Y or an N. So that's usually what those libraries have set up with Envisionware is PI equals N, no access, PI equals Y equals let them on in.
All right, that's helpful. Thanks.
George, is that PI field logic configurable at all, or is that hard coded?
No, it's hard coded in the SIP standard. And there is, I guess Bywater, you know, there was a development that allows you to put any extended attribute into the SIP connection. So I guess that's where the sort must come from. But you should be able to set those up with authorized values to have it be a dropdown to be a yes or a no. So that should be pretty easy to accomplish.
Yeah, it's going to simplify it, and I hope that they're receptive to it, because right now we're using in Symfony user category 3, and we have like 200 plus possible values in there. And most times don't know what it's for, what it does. It just serves to confuse them at the time of patron creation. So internet access or no internet access will be much better.
Good morning. I have,
Good morning.
I have a few questions.
Yeah, sure.
We just migrated over to Bywater hosting us. And so we're, coming across quirks. My first question is searching by the bib number. In our and then let me say this, we have switched from Zebra to Elasticsearch. So searching by the bib number in our old system, it was a colon in between SN and the number. In this new system, that is not working. So I've tried to equal and it didn't give me anything. So is there something else I can try? I submitted a ticket and they said they're looking into it, but I haven't heard back anything.
I think it's still a colon. We don't use Elastic, so I don't have a system I can verify on right now.
Okay.
I have this thin memory of Zebra being able to deal with a space between your colon and the bib number where Elastic is not.
Okay.
So maybe that's what's going on. It's also possible that that alias just changed. That like you want to say something other than, forgot what you said you were using, BN colon.
SN.
SN, yeah.
But what I do, I'll go to, well, let me say this. I go to advanced search and then I go to standard number, and then that's where I put in SN colon and the bib number. Is that the right place or am I doing it in the wrong place?
I think if you're, oh, that could be it. Yeah, I think if in the advanced search in Elastic, if you change the dropdown to be something other than just keyword, then you don't need to say SN colon. If you're changing the dropdown to standard number, then you can just put the number in. You don't need, what you're doing basically is telling it's a standard number and then adding extra notation to say, really, it's a bib search. And I think that's probably what's confusing it.
Okay.
I don't feel like those words made any sense coming out of my mouth.
I just tried it. I went to advanced search and I changed the drop down to standard number and I just put the number in by itself. And when I hit search, I get nothing.
Oh, okay.
No results found.
Drat. Is anyone else on the Zoom using Elastic?
Well, that's what they told me.
I'm on
Yeah.
Elastic on my test server at least. I find in just the normal catalog search at the top in the green bar, if I do SN colon and then the biblio number, I get a result. And then advanced search. Just a keyword for the bib number does not bring it back in the first. Well, it brings it back in the first 4 results, but doesn't take me right there.
Okay.
And what were you trying? You were trying standard?
Yes, I was trying standard number.
Yeah, standard number with the bib number brings me no results.
Okay.
I'm experiencing that same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, we're on Elasticsearch too, and our catalogers find it very unforgiving if an apostrophe is out of place, it returns nothing. And I was actually going to ask whether anybody has any tips on that. I've told them to use the tilde as kind of a truncation or wildcard, but is Zebra that much better?
I feel like Zebra is different rather than better.
Okay.
Yes, Zebra is different. We had problems with apostrophes and parentheses. And so that was one of the things that why we decided to go to Elastic.
Jenice,
Yes,
we're on Elastic, and if I just leave it at a keyword search, just put the number, just the bib number in, it'll take me to the record. It'll be like usually the first result. I just tried it in both staff and we're on the koha OPAC.
okay. I just did it and I got 4 results.
Is that what you're looking for?
The
I didn't
first
do it
one
through
was
it.
not the number that I put in.
I didn't do it through an advanced search. I just did a regular.
Oh, you just did a regular. Okay, let's try
Mhm.
that. Let me try that. I got the same 4 results.
Is one of them the bib you're looking for?
The first 2 are not. Let's see about the third one. The third one was not. The fourth one was the one.
Yeah, and if you're searching the bib number just as a keyword, I would definitely expect the record you're looking for to be in that set always. But yeah, it's probably mostly going to be a few extra records too. It does sound
Okay.
like for right now, your best bet is to, in the search, leave the dropdown set to a general keyword and then type in SN : and your number. That seemed like that worked. But there's at least a small bug here to make picking standard number in the dropdown actually work.
Right. Okay. Well,
Sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just for a lark, I stayed in the advanced search, kept it a keyword search. I searched for biblio number equals biblio number, and that takes me right to the record.
Okay. Okay, I'll try that. Okay, that was the first thing. The second question is, as staff is cataloging, their numbers are not changing. Like if they're adding items or adding analytics, those numbers are not changing automatic. It's like they have to go and open up the record and then it shows that it was updated. Is that an indexing thing or is it a system preference thing? I've submitted tickets. One thing they said it was a system preference. They changed that and it fixed that particular thing, but it didn't change anything else.
I'm not completely clear what you mean when you say the numbers aren't, like, the values aren't updating.
Okay, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Let's see. One of my serial cataloger, she downloaded a record from Library of Congress. And before she put that record in, it was showing it started at like year 1850. But when she downloaded the record from Library of Congress and put it in, it should have shown that it started at 1847, and it didn't. When she saved that new record, it didn't automatically show those new things. She had to open the record up and then save it and close it again. But then when I submitted a ticket, Bywater said it was something dealing with her system preference, and they changed it, and then she said it was working from there. But then I have some other things where people are updating analytics or adding items, and they're not showing up as they add. It's like they have to close out, open it back up, and then it'll show everything that they've added. So I didn't know if that was an indexing thing, or does it let the system recycle every night or index every night and they'll show the next day. Bywater and give it, they just saying they're looking into it and they'll get back to me.
So do you mean the data that you see like on the bib details page doesn't change, or the data you see on the search results page doesn't change?
Hold on, let me see. This is one. Okay, one of my staff, she said she was modifying the New Republic analytics.
Mm-hmm.
And she said the record was not reflecting any of the changes that she made yesterday. Then I asked her for the bib number. She gave me the bib number and the parent number. And so the parent number is 162,730, and then the number of the analytic is 162,769. She said the analytics she modified yesterday showed it was like 40th in the results that she was looking at. But then when she looks at it on the OPEC side, it's like it's not, those modifications that she made, it's not showing. But
So
then
then
once she clicked the record and like she opened the record up like she was finna modify it again, but then closed it out, then it showed.
So that does sound like maybe search indexes aren't getting updated properly. Oh,
Okay. So with
And
Bob hosting us, how often does the index run? How often is that a schedule I need to set, or is that something they set?
if, in theory, that should be happening continuously. Like every time you're editing a record, it should be, I think, going into a queue that
Okay.
then eventually, yeah. So I would, it sounds like some process that's supposed to be running continuously is not.
Okay. Well, I mean, like I said, they all said, I mean, I've got responses on my ticket saying Bywater is looking into it, but I just hadn't heard anything. And so I was
Yeah.
wondering if anybody else has had those problems.
I've not had those problems specifically, but they do sound like not what's expected to happen.
Okay. Well, I'll be patient and wait to hear from Bywater. Thank you.
Of course. What else is everybody up to on this fine Tuesday?
I have a question about a newish system preference to see if anyone's using it. And sorry, there's a lot of background noise on mine, so let me know if I need to be louder. So this is related to bug 31557. And it's the new system preference for holds queue prioritized branch. So I'm wondering if anyone is using this new system preference, and this is the one where like you can set it so that it tries to fill a hold with the patron. The holding library matches the patron's home library rather than the owning library matches the patron's home library to fill a hold. So I'm wondering if anyone's using this, and if they are, has that, does it negate the need to use the local holds priority setting?
One of the things I see here is that it says needs documenting, and that would really be helpful here, I think, because I'm not sure I really, just reading the bug, I'm not 100% sure I understand what it's doing.
So in theory, it's supposed to help libraries where everything floats, because you're trying to, because nothing really had, like the owning library on all those items in a floating system isn't really accurate. So the whole queue is trying to fill things. The old setting was like it always did holding library, or not, I'm sorry, owning library. And now you could set it to say, please use it so that the hold queue tries to fill a hold with something that is at the holding library that matches the patron's home library first. So I'm supposed to cut down on sending things everywhere.
Yeah, we're using it. We have it set to holding library because all of our stuff floats. And
Same here. Yeah.
we had the issue where it would page our main branch before it would page the smaller branch where the item was listed as available and where the patron wanted to pick it up. So we have seen a reduction in that kind of hiccup. So yeah, we have noticed it shut down. It actually pages the smaller branch where the item is available, and that's where the patron wants it. So it's cut down on our transfer time.
Okay. Do you also have local holds priority enabled?
Let me look. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Kristi, I know, like Rebecca, we do use holds queue prioritize branch to set things to prioritize the holding branch. We don't use local holds priority at all.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't either.
They're kind of separate questions.
Okay.
Holds queue prioritize branch changes how Koha picks the item it gives to the person who's first in line.
Right.
Whereas local holds priority changes which patron Koha puts first in line based on availability of items.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're both minimizing transfers, I guess, but I don't know, local holds priority has always seemed weirder to me.
Yeah, I guess my question for myself is like, does this new setting reduce the transfers enough to not need the local holds priority to cut down on the sending everything everywhere? So that's good feedback to hear that you're both using the new preference without that local holds priority, and it doesn't seem to be causing mayhem.
I guess in my head, local holds priority was minimizing wait times rather than transfers. But you know,
It kind of does both.
Yeah. Yeah.
that makes sense.
So we have it set up the same way as Andrew, but I think this was a question I had, I don't know, some months back, and I thought George answered it pretty well, but it's my understanding. So if we put like give priority for filling holds to patron whose pickup library matches the holding library, that's the local holds priority, that would put someone, it could bump someone in line just because you're checking in a book from the holding library and then maybe the next hold is from a different library. Is my understanding correct on that?
Yeah. If your patron that's third in line wants to pick up the book at the library it's at, and the first and second people want that book somewhere else, then Koha would give it to the patron third in line because that keeps the book where it is and gets it to the patron quicker.
The issue for us,
The
issue for us is because each library is a different organization for us. So we don't have branches, we have different libraries really. And so when library A pays money to buy a book, and then as soon as that book is available, it goes off and fills requests at library B, C, D, E, and F before a patron of library A ever sees the item. That's what local holds priority helps us do, is to make sure that the library that buys the item gets to use it first. So that's in addition to helping with transfers. It's also an issue of equity among the libraries, because usually what happens is our library in Baser pre-orders everything. And so they have things in the catalog now that aren't going to be released for 6 months. And the patrons at another library to the south of us will place 5 bazillion holds on the items at Baser. And then the issue was that the Baser library wasn't able to use that item for 6 months after they bought it because it was always out at these other libraries. So by keeping it at Baser longer, it encourages the libraries that want it sooner, that have their patrons that put those holds on early, to actually buy the item, which eventually reduces the transfers too. So that way the first library that gets the physical copy in the door isn't the one that ends up filling all the holds. So that's how it reduces transfers for us.
Oh, one last question on that. So we have the transport cost matrix enabled also. Is anyone that has the new preference turned on also using transport cost matrix?
We do.
Okay, great. Yeah, that is handier than I thought it would be. It was very surprising. So if anyone's thinking of using the transport cost matrix, we've been happy with it so far.
Yeah, it's not quite as scary as it looks.
In my experience, it's just really tedious to fill in those. That 50 by 50 grid.
Absolutely.
Thanks, that was really helpful.
You're welcome.
I could use some OPAC help from the OPAC masters of the group.
Ooh, let me mute myself.
So we took the OPAC and we turned it into our detention center catalog. Since we're using Aspen for all the public catalogs, we had to come up with a way to have a hidden catalog itself. So there are 2 questions we have that we cannot find the answer to, and I'm hoping the group knows. So there's the error 404 page, and then there is the restricted page. Where is the text for this kept, or is it a system default somewhere?
The
Because
restricted page is a sysgraph. Yeah.
okay, so
This one.
it's restricted page content, right?
Yeah.
So the HTML block for that one is blank in Koha. I looked and it has no information, but there is an entry when I go to a restricted page that says, logging onto the catalog has not been enabled, blah, 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 email. So I'm trying to figure out where that text is coming from. And if it's easier for you
Oh,
to
so
see.
if you're saying if you go to the restricted page without being logged in, there's some text there that's saying you're not allowed to access that page or something like that.
Correct.
And you're wondering where that text comes from.
Yes.
God, I don't know. That must be hard coded in somewhere.
And I can share my screen if it's easier just to see what I'm talking about. Because we can't find it and the sys preferences are empty. I checked everywhere I could possibly think that there would be any kind of opaque HTML. I'm like, maybe it's in the XSLT. That was a suggestion someone said, but this is our first foray into the opaque, so I'm learning as I'm going. So if anyone has any suggestions, I was also just going to put a ticket Bywater at this point because I cannot figure out where it lives. The thing is I need to customize it so it doesn't say send email. The rest of the text is fine, but because it's a lockdown system, we don't want to have any clickable links.
Here's the template toolkit page for it, which is opaque-restrictedpage.tt. So is there an opaque-restricted page?
So actually, I'd like to see you said you could share the screen.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, let's see it.
All right. Okay, so here is our 404 page. So this, I just typed in the URL for it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I got. So this is the part I need to disable.
Yeah,
this
it
is
shouldn't
fine.
be.
And then
My guess is that that's the error 404 page that comes up every time you get an error 404. Every time there's a page that's not available. So my guess is that's what that is if there, I can't think of another way to, off the top of my head, I don't know what other pages in Koha opaque would trigger an error 404. But my guess is that what you're seeing there is the template, that's the standard 404 page that you're going to get every time you go to a page that doesn't have any, that's not available.
okay.
So
Yeah,
probably what you want to do is use some jQuery or something to remove that link, because that link is that send email link is going to show up every time there's an error 404.
Okay. Yeah, and then on this one here, this is the restricted page. So just restricted page PL. And then this is the same thing here. So, okay.
And I think the easy way to fix that, the content you see there on the restricted page, when you're logged in and you get the restricted page, is just to put like a blank HTML in there.
Yeah, there's no logging in for this library. We've disabled it completely and hidden all of the functions for lists and logins and anything like that. So
okay, so
it's like a dummy catalog basically. It's just, you could go, you can search. This is what our main page looks like. So you could go, you can do quick searches, and then that's it. That's all you can do. No holds, no fancy account stuff. This is just a straight catalog. But yeah, we just could not figure out where this was living because we don't see a system preference, and my system preference for it is blank. So I was like, where does this live? And we tried putting HTML in here.
Yeah.
And then getting it to load and couldn't find it. So, okay. Well, thank you, team. I go hive mind.
I put a link in the chat that looks like it is the template toolkit page that wording comes out of, but there's no mechanism aside from jQuery to edit that. So
okay, thank you.
Sure. We're 3/4 of the way through the meeting and we haven't talked about any reports at all, which is unusual. We usually talk about SQL a lot. Anybody have any SQL questions or SQL brags?
Oh, I have a question, especially since if no one's asking questions, I'll just put mine in as filler.
Yeah.
In terms of the tables, where you also have to keep in mind that there's another table that has the historical information. So like there's an issues table and there's the, I can't remember what it's called, like the issues history or whatever.
Old issues.
Old issues, that's it. And there's reserves and old reserves. Are there other tables like that, or is that the extent of it?
There's items and deleted items,
Yeah.
biblio and deleted biblio, biblio items and deleted biblio items. Some of them are called old and some of them are called deleted.
Okay.
And it kind of depends on how you're set up, how much you need access to those. I can't think of all of them off at the top of my head, but it's mostly has to do with things that you're adding and deleting a lot, like patrons. There's patrons and deleted patrons.
Yeah. Looking at the schema, we've got deleted biblio metadata, biblio items, borrowers, and items. And
Okay.
deleted borrowers often doesn't have anything in it. Some of the ways you delete patrons in Koha skip that deleted borrowers table.
Yeah, and the only olds I see are old issues and old reserves. There is a movement. People are trying to a couple of people have suggested that rather than having items and deleted items, to change the way that items work so that there would just be like a flag in there that says, is this item active or deleted? You know, is this, so that when you delete an item, instead of moving it to a completely different table, it just puts a check mark in a spot in the items table that says this item has now been deleted. And that's, Andrew just put the bug number in the chat box.
The bug is set to in discussion.
Yeah, and it's because it would be a major change in how Koha works.
And it would impact lots of reports.
Yes, it would. Yeah, I've got a ton of reports that work on there's a sequence of videos that Christopher and I did where I walked through all of the steps to create a report where you could just put a barcode number in it in the report, and it would give you a result whether the item had been deleted or not, and whether the biblio had been deleted or not. And it was like a sequence of like several videos to go through all the steps needed to do that. So, but those are the only places, are those handful of the deleted ones that Andrew were at, and old issues and old reserves are the ones that you need to worry about.
Okay, thank you.
I like that bug idea generally. I think it would be good to have those things all merged, but it does seem like the easiest course to get it done properly is to first invent time travel.
Yeah.
And then like go back and do it right. Like I don't want to change it at this point. Makes me so nervous.
Yeah, it would be a major change with how Koha works. There's actually I actually have a report that I just wrote that I've been working on, and I think it's done, for barcode matching item not found barcodes. I'll share my screen and I'll let you guys see what it does. So if I run this report and stick a barcode number in here, so the thing that happens with us, the thing that happens with us a lot is we have items like, I've got this item here, and it's been deleted. And so people will say, well, who owned that item? And so this report gives, you put in the barcode number and it'll show you there's 0 exact matches. It's not in items and it's not in deleted items. But then you can get a good idea of which library owned it if you look at the other libraries that have barcodes that have, these are 13-digit barcodes. So what if we just search for the first 12? Then I get 2 matches at Neckles. And if I just search for the first 11, I get 10 matches at Corning and 4 at Valley Falls and 2 at Neckles and 1 at Linden. And if I search for just the first 10 digits, then I get 261 matches at Carbondale and 64 at Neckles and 4. So this way, when something has been deleted, it gives people an opportunity to try and figure out which library might have owned it. Because what's going to happen with an item like this is somebody's going to check it out. It's going to get deleted. It's going to get marked lost. Then it'll be deleted. And then 6 months after, 6 months after it's been completely deleted from the system, it's no longer in items. It's no longer in deleted items. That's when they'll return it. And so then somebody will want to know who to bill, or who was billed for that. And so this gives them an opportunity to say, well, the similar barcodes are at these places, and so you can make a good guess as to who might have owned it. And it actually does a lot of looking at, it's looking at it has several sections where it'll be, this is looking at the items table, and then this part is looking at deleted items. So it's a bunch of unions, and I haven't put it on the wiki yet. But that's the kind of fun thing you have to learn if you want to write reports that look at items and deleted items, is you have to do unions, you have to do left joins and coalesces and all kinds of fun stuff like that. So I've learned a lot about SQL from Koha's items and deleted items and borrowers, deleted borrowers, and biblio, deleted biblio, and all those different things that are disconnected in that way by different tables. So
there's SQL queries from y'all. Deep Koha structural questions or complaints?
I have, so it's the baby beginnings of a SQL question, but so I'm just starting to look at trying to do the XML pulling out of MARC records of things, and there's a lot of good stuff on the library. But I don't really see examples of, if you want it to be like, it does this in this field, in this tag, and also this. So I didn't know if anyone else had another resource page of querying MARC records through SQL, or if the library was kind of the best source. Report library. I've been looking at Mana too a little bit, but
so you're just trying to figure out different ways to get data out of the MARC record.
right, yeah.
It's I always find those questions sometimes hard to answer if I don't know exactly what you're looking for.
For an example, and I probably shouldn't have waited till the end of the meeting to ask. These can wait till next time for sure. I'll get a better formed question together. But for starters, it was just kind of like, is there a good resource out there other than the 2 I just named? But for next time, I'll get that spoken.
I can't think of another place to point you to for SQL examples.
Okay.
But yeah, I would be interested to hear more about the types of MARC extraction things you're working at.
Okay.
We are about to migrate to Aspen, and every piece of bad cataloging we've ever done at all 50 of our libraries is now an issue. And so I actually do have some reports that I've been working on that query MARC And so I can show you an example of one of those. This one says count by leader position 6. I'm not sure why I did this report, and I think it takes a minute or two to run. But I think I said, oh, I know why. It's because I'm looking for valid data. I was looking for invalid data. So these are all of the different, according to the MARC standard, these are the different valid pieces of information that can be in leader position number 6. And so this report is just counting all of the different things that are in leader position 6, so it can show me, so I can see which ones or how many items I have with invalid data in position number 6. And this one might take a minute or two to run. It certainly is starting off slow. But while it's running, I can show you what it looks like. It's you have to go in and you have to, this is looking at the leader, and it's looking at position 7 for one character. And if it's an A, then it's going to show an A through all of these valid things. But then if it shows an invalid code, it's gonna put the invalid code there and leave a note next to it that says that this code is invalid based on the MARC rules. And I think it finished running. So I've got 2 bibs with a 0 in position number 6. I've got 6 bibs with a Z in position number 6. I've got 765 bibs with no code in position number 6, which probably is not a great thing to have. My guess is a bunch of those might be brief records for ILL items. So you can query anything out of the MARC. It's just it's just kind of a pain to like learn how to write the substring extract part.
And it is just always bad with repeated fields. Like repeated fields will always be a headache.
Yeah, if you're trying to get data out of like a 650 and you've got a record that some crazy cataloger's put 45 subjects on, you're going to get a string of 45 things. So yeah, it's working with the MARC in SQL can be kind of a pain. So, but it just kind of takes being willing to experiment. And one of the things I appreciate about SQL and Koha is you can't break anything really. You can't accidentally overwrite all your records. If you put a comma out of place, you're not going to ruin Koha because it's just read-only data in the SQL. So but if you can come up with some specific questions, I can try and answer some.
Yeah, I might find you on Slack.
Yeah, that'll work.
Because what you just showed sounds kind of similar.
Yeah, sure.
George's report did show one of the like frustratingly unavoidable problems of MARC queries is that they do tend to be slow, and you will definitely run into things that will be undoable just because the query will take too long to run if you're trying to look at like several MARC fields at the same time. And that's frustrating because as far as I can tell, there's not a great way around it.
Usually if I have a report that I think is going to take a really long time to run, I create the report and then I schedule it to run like it, after midnight.
Yeah.
Then and send it to myself as an email. That's usually the best way to deal with those.
Well, y'all, we're at 11:01. I'm not on like the tightest schedule in the world, but you all might have things you want to do with your lives. Any last minute questions or emergencies?
I have a leader checker report too. I'll just put it in the chat if anybody wants to play with it. It does use an authorized value list for like the different things, so that won't work out of the box, but it's been useful for us to find things where like we've set it as visual media, but the leader says it's a book or something like that.
Fancy. Cool. Well, thank y'all. Hey, Chanel, have a great weekend. May your migration go super good. Knock on wood.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to try to relax this weekend, but it's going to be tough.
It's next weekend you want to relax. It's
Yeah.
it's 2 weekends, 2 Saturdays from now. That's the relaxing weekend.
All right, y'all.
Bye,
Take it
y'all.
sleazy.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks
See
for
you
the help.
later.